Lady Isabella stood by the tiny hospital bed, watching her 6-month-old daughter Rose struggle to breathe. The machines beeped constantly, and each sound felt like a knife in her heart. For 3 months, she had taken Rose to every top doctor in London. They all said the same thing. There was nothing more they could do. Rose had a rare condition that affected her blood. Most babies with this problem didn't live past their first birthday. Isabella refused to accept this. She was the daughter of one of England's richest families. Money had always solved her problems before, but this time it felt useless. Mrs. Blackwood, the head doctor, said quietly, "We've tried everything we can. Perhaps it's time to consider making Rose comfortable for her remaining time." Isabella's hands shook. No, there has to be someone, somewhere, who can help her. That night, Isabella searched the internet for hours. She read medical papers. She barely understood. She contacted research centers around the world. Most doctors gave her the same hopeless answers. But then, she found something different. There was a doctor named Alex Rivera, who had been working on treatments for rare blood conditions. His research looked promising, but there was a problem. The medical board had taken away his license 3 years ago. They said his methods were too dangerous and unproven. Isabella found more information about Dr. Rivera. He had lost his license after trying to save a child with an experimental treatment. The treatment didn't work, and the child died. The medical community turned against him. Now he was working in a small clinic in Thailand, treating patients that other doctors had given up on. Isabella knew this was her only chance. Against her family's wishes, she booked a flight to Thailand the next day. Her father, Lord Blackwood, was furious. "Isabella, you're being foolish," he said. "This man is not a real doctor anymore. He's probably just trying to take advantage of desperate people." "Rose is dying, father," Isabella replied. "I don't care what anyone says about this doctor. If there's even a small chance he can help her, I have to try." Her mother tried to stop her too. "What if something happens to you and Rose in that foreign country? At least here, she's getting proper care." But Isabella had made up her mind. She packed their bags and left for Thailand, carrying Rose and all her medical equipment. The flight was terrible. Rose cried most of the way, and Isabella barely slept. When they landed in Bangkok, the heat hit them like a wall. Isabella had never been to a place like this. Everything was different. The smells, the sounds, the language. She took a taxi, too. The address she had found online, the clinic was in a poor part of the city, nothing like the fancy hospitals she was used to. The building was old and painted white, the rusty air conditioning units hanging from the windows. Isabella walked inside, carrying Rose carefully. The waiting room was full of people who looked like they had traveled far to be there. Families with sick children, elderly people, and some who looked like they had been there for weeks. A young nurse at the front desk spoke broken English. "You here to see Dr. Rivera?" "Yes," Isabella said. "I called yesterday. My daughter needs help." The nurse looked at Rose and nodded sadly. "Many sick babies come here. Dr. Rivera, very good man. He tried to help everyone." Isabella waited for 2 hours. Finally, a tall man with dark hair and tired eyes came out. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His clothes were simple, just jeans and a white shirt. "You must be Mrs. Blackwood," he said in perfect English. "I'm Dr. Rivera. I've read the medical files you sent." Isabella stood up quickly. "Doctor, please tell me you can help my daughter. I've been to every specialist in London. They all say there's nothing they can do." Dr. Rivera looked at Rose, who was sleeping in Isabella's arms. "Your daughter has a very rare condition. I've been working on a treatment, but I have to be honest with you. It's experimental. I can't guarantee it will work, but there's a chance." Isabella asked, hope filling her voice. "There's a chance," he said quietly. "But the treatment is risky. And I'm not licensed to practice medicine anymore. If something goes wrong, you could lose everything." Isabella looked down at Rose. Her daughter's breathing was getting weaker every day. "Doctor, I'll give you anything if you can save her. Have money, property, connections? Name your price." Dr. Rivera shook his head. I don't want your money, Mrs. Blackwood, but I need to know you understand the risks. This treatment has never been tried on a baby this young. I could make things worse. She's going to die anyway, Isabella said, tears in her eyes. At least this way, she has a fighting chance. Dr. Rivera was quiet for a long moment. He had turned away many wealthy families before. Their money couldn't buy miracles. But something about Isabella was different. She wasn't just throwing money at the problem. She was a mother who would do anything to save her child. All right, he said finally. But you need to understand something. This isn't going to be easy. The treatment takes weeks, maybe months. You'll have to stay here. You'll have to help me every day. Are you prepared for that? Isabella didn't hesitate. I'll do whatever it takes. Dr. Rivera showed her to a small room behind the clinic. It had a bed, a chair, and a tiny bathroom. You can stay here with Rose. The treatment starts tomorrow morning. That night, Isabella called her family to tell them her decision. Her father was angry, her mother was worried, and her friends thought she had lost her mind. But Isabella didn't care. For the first time in months, she had hope. She looked at Rose sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. Maybe it was the different air, or maybe it was being away from all the stress back home. Whatever it was, Isabella felt like she had made the right choice. Dr. Rivera seemed different from the other doctors she had met. He didn't talk down to her or treat her like she was just a worried mother. He listened to her concerns and answered her questions honestly. There was something about him that made her trust him, even though everyone had warned her not to, as she fell asleep that first night in Thailand. Isabella whispered a prayer that she had given up everything, her comfortable life, her family's support, her safety for this chance. Tomorrow, they would begin the fight to save Rose's life. The next morning, Isabella woke up to the sound of Dr. Rivera preparing equipment in the next room. Rose had slept better than she had in weeks, but Isabella could see her daughter was still very weak. Her tiny hands felt cold, and her breathing was shallow. Dr. Rivera knocked on her door. Good morning, Mrs. Blackwood. Are you ready to begin? Isabella nodded, though her heart was racing. She had never seen a medical treatment up close before. Back in London, she would wait in fancy waiting rooms while doctors worked behind closed doors. This was completely different. First, I need to explain what we're going to do, Dr. Rivera said, sitting down across from her. Rose's blood isn't making the right proteins to keep her healthy. I've developed a treatment that helps her body learn to make these proteins on its own, he showed Isabella a small vial of clear liquid. This medicine goes directly into her bloodstream through a special tube, but it's not like regular medicine. Her body might fight it at first, which could make her sicker before she gets better. Isabella felt scared, but she tried to stay strong. What do you need me to do? Everything, Dr. Rivera said simply. I can't do this alone. You'll need to help me monitor her heart rate, check her temperature, and watch for any changes in her condition. Can you handle that? Isabella had never done anything like this before. At home, she had servants who took care of everything. She had never even changed Rose's diaper until they came to the hospital. But looking at her daughter's pale face, she knew she would learn. Teach me, she said. For the next few hours, Dr. Rivera showed Isabella how to use the medical equipment. He taught her how to read the monitors, how to check Rose's pulse, and how to prepare the medicine. Isabella's hands shook at first, but Dr. Rivera was patient with her. You're doing well, he said, as Isabella successfully checked Rose's blood pressure for the first time. Many parents can't handle this much responsibility. I have too, Isabella replied. She's my daughter. The first injection was terrifying. Isabella held Rose while Dr. Rivera carefully inserted the needle. Rose cried, and Isabella started crying too. But Dr. Rivera stayed calm and gentle. The hard part is over, he said. Now we wait and watch. For the next several hours, Isabella didn't leave Rose's side. She watched the monitors constantly, writing down every number like Dr. Rivera had taught her. Her expensive clothes got wrinkled, her hair became messy, but she didn't care. By evening, Rose's condition seemed to get worse. Her fever went up, and she became more restless. Isabella panicked. Something's wrong, she called out to Dr. Rivera. Her temperature is too high. Dr. Rivera rushed in and checked Rose carefully. This is normal, he said calmly. Her body is fighting the treatment. This is actually a good sign. Isabella couldn't understand how her daughter getting sicker could be good. Are you sure? Maybe we should stop. Trust me, Dr. Rivera said, looking directly into her eyes. I know this is scary, but Rose is stronger than you think. That night was the longest of Isabella's life. She sat by Rose's bed, holding her tiny hand and singing soft lullabies. Dr. Rivera stayed nearby, checking on them every hour. Isabella noticed that he looked as worried as she felt. Even though he tried to hide it, around 3 in the morning, Rose's fever finally broke. Her breathing became easier, and she fell into a peaceful sleep. Isabella was exhausted but relieved. You did great tonight, Dr. Rivera said quietly. Most people would have given up. Isabella looked at him with new respect. She could see how much he cared about Rose even though he had just met them. Why are you helping us? You could get in trouble for treating patients without a license. Dr. Rivera was quiet for a moment. Because every child deserves a chance to live, he said finally. And because I believe Rose can beat this. Over the next few days, Isabella learned more about taking care of her daughter than she had in the previous 6 months. She learned to give injections, to read medical charts, and to spot the smallest changes in Rose's condition. Her soft hands became rough from washing medical equipment. Her designer clothes were replaced with simple scrubs. The other families at the clinic began to notice Isabella's transformation. At first, they had looked at her expensive jewelry and fancy luggage with suspicion. But as they saw her working, alongside Dr. Rivera, sleeping on hard chairs and caring for Rose with her own hands, they began to accept her. You're not like the other rich people who come here, said Mrs. Chen, whose son was also receiving treatment. Most of them expect Dr. Rivera to work miracles while they wait in hotels. Isabella realized that Mrs. Chen was right. She had changed completely since arriving in Thailand. The woman who used to complain about her coffee being too cold was now grateful for any food she could get. The woman who had never cleaned anything was now scrubbing medical equipment every day. Dr. Rivera noticed the change too. You're becoming a real partner in Rose's treatment, he told her one evening. I couldn't do this without your help. Isabella felt proud of his words. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was truly useful. Not because of her family's money or status, but because of her own actions. After a week of treatment, Rose began to show small signs of improvement. Her color looked better, and she was more alert during the day. But Dr. Rivera warned Isabella that they still had a long way to go. The real test comes in the next few weeks, he said. Rose's body needs to learn to make the proteins on its own. We can't rush this process. Isabella nodded. She had learned to be patient, something she had never been good at before. As she looked at Rose sleeping peacefully, she realized that this journey was changing her as much as it was helping her daughter. Late at night, Rose was sleeping and the clinic was quiet. Isabella sometimes talked with Dr. Rivera about their lives. She learned that he had given up a successful career to help children that other doctors couldn't save. He learned that she had never felt truly needed until now. Neither of them realized it yet, but they were becoming more than just doctor and patient's mother. They were becoming a team, united by their determination to save Rose's life. 3 weeks into the treatment, Rose was getting stronger every day. She could sit up on her own now, and her eyes were bright and curious. Isabella felt hopeful for the first time since Rose was born, but their happiness was about to be shattered. Morning. Isabella woke up to find Dr. Rivera talking urgently on his phone. His face looked worried, and he kept glancing at her and Rose. What's wrong? Isabella asked when he hung up. Dr. Rivera sat down heavily. We have a problem. Someone reported our treatment to the medical authorities. They're investigating the clinic. Isabella's heart sank. What does that mean? It means they might shut us down, Dr. Rivera said. And they might arrest me for practicing. Without a license, Isabella couldn't believe it. Just when Rose was getting better, everything was falling apart. Who would report us? Dr. Rivera looked uncomfortable. The call came from someone in England, someone who knew specific details. About Rose's treatment, Isabella felt sick. She realized that her family must have hired someone to find her. They'd been calling her every day, begging her to come home. When she refused, they must have decided to take action. That afternoon, Isabella's phone rang. It was her father, Isabella. "You need to bring Rose home immediately," Lord Blackwood said without even saying hello. "Father, Rose is getting better. The treatment is working." "That man is not a real doctor," her father shouted. "He's going to get you both killed. I've contacted the authorities to stop this madness." Isabella felt betrayed. Her own family had put Rose's life in danger. "How could you do this? Rose is your granddaughter." "I'm trying to save her life," her father said. "And yours too. Come home now, and we'll find real doctors to help her."
Oh.
Isabella hung up the phone.
Oh.
She was shaking with anger and fear. Dr. Rivera had risked everything to help Rose, and now he might go to prison because of her family. The next day, 2 officials from the TI Medical Board arrived at the clinic. They wore serious suits and carried briefcases full of papers. Isabella watched from Rose's room as they talked to Dr. Rivera. "Dr. Rivera, you are not licensed to practice medicine in Thailand," one official said. "We have reports that you are treating patients with experimental drugs." Dr. Rivera stayed calm. "I am providing care to patients who have been refused treatment elsewhere. Everything I do is documented and safe." "That's not for you to decide," the other official said. "You must stop all treatments immediately." Isabella couldn't stay quiet any longer. She walked out carrying Rose, who looked healthy and happy for the first time in months. "Please," Isabella said to the officials. "This man saved my daughter's life. Look at her. 3 weeks ago, she was dying. Now she's healthy." One official looked at Rose with surprise. Like the medical files they had seen described a very sick baby, but Rose looked normal and strong. "And we understand your gratitude," first official said. "But Dr. Rivera broke the law. We have to shut down this clinic." Isabella felt desperate. "What if I take full responsibility? What if I sign papers saying that I asked Dr. Rivera to treat Rose, and that I understand the risks?" The officials looked at each other. "Doesn't work that way. Dr. Rivera still needs a license to practice medicine." That evening, Dr. Rivera told Isabella that she needed to leave Thailand with Rose. "You should go back to London," he said. "Rose is stable now. Your regular doctors can continue her care." "What about you?" Isabella asked. Dr. Rivera looked tired. "I'll probably face charges. Might have to close the clinic permanently." Isabella couldn't accept this. Dr. Rivera had saved Rose's life, and now he was being punished for it. It wasn't fair. "I'm not leaving," Isabella said firmly. "Isabella, be reasonable. You have a life in England. Rose needs proper medical care." "Needs you," Isabella said. "And so do all the other children you're helping here." That night, Isabella made phone calls to everyone she could think of. She called lawyers, journalists, and government officials. She told Rose's story to anyone who would listen. She used her family's connections. Even though they were angry with her, Isabella also did something she had never done before. She went on social media and shared Rose's story with the world. She posted pictures of Rose before and after the treatment. She talked about Dr. Rivera's dedication and skill. Within hours, thousands of people were sharing her story. The response was incredible. Parents from around the world wrote to thank Dr. Rivera for giving them hope. Medical students defended his research. Even some licensed doctors admitted that his methods might be worth studying. But Isabella's family was furious. Her father called her again. "Isabella, you're embarrassing our family," he said. "Delete those posts immediately." "No," Isabella said. "Rose is alive because of Dr. Rivera. I won't let him be destroyed for saving her, if you don't come home. And stop this nonsense. You're no longer my daughter," her father threatened. Isabella felt her heart break, but she stayed strong. "Then I guess I'm no longer your daughter." The next few days were a whirlwind of media attention. Reporters came to the clinic to interview Isabella and Dr. Rivera. Isabella told Rose's story over and over again, hoping that public pressure would help them. Some people supported them, but others were critical. Medical professionals said that Dr. Rivera was dangerous and that Isabella was being foolish. Isabella's former friends avoided her calls. Her mother stopped talking to her completely, but Isabella didn't give up. She hired the best lawyers she could find to defend Dr. Rivera. She sold her jewelry to pay for their fees. She spent her days fighting for the man who had saved her daughter's life. Rose, meanwhile, continued to get stronger. She was crawling. Now, and laughing often, she didn't understand the chaos around her. She seemed to sense that Isabella and Dr. Rivera were fighting for something important. One evening, as Isabella was feeding Rose, Dr. Rivera sat down beside her. "You didn't have to do all this?" he said quietly. "You could have gone home and forgotten about me." Isabella looked at him. Over the past weeks, she had seen him work tirelessly to help sick children. She had seen him stay up all night when a patient was in danger. She had seen him use his own money to buy medicine for families who couldn't afford it. "You saved Rose's life," Isabella said. "But more than that, you showed me what it means to really fight for something important." Dr. Rivera looked at Rose, who was babbling happily in Isabella's arms. "She's going to grow up to be as strong as her mother." Isabella realized that somewhere in the middle of this fight, her feelings for Dr. Rivera had changed. He wasn't just Rose's doctor anymore. He'd become someone she cared about deeply, someone she couldn't imagine losing as they sat together. In the quiet clinic, surrounded by legal papers and media attention, Isabella knew that no matter what happened next, she would keep fighting for the man who had given her everything that mattered. The day of Dr. Rivera's hearing arrived like a storm. Isabella woke up early, her stomach in knots. Today would decide whether the man who saved Rose's life would go to prison or be allowed to continue helping sick children. Rose was now 8 months old and completely healthy. She was crawling around the small room, babbling and playing with toys that other patients' families had given her. Looking at her daughter, Isabella could hardly believe that just 2 months ago, Rose had been dying. "Are you ready for this?" Dr. Rivera asked as they prepared to leave for the courthouse. Isabella straightened her simple dress. She had sold most of her expensive clothes to pay for legal fees. "As ready as I'll ever be." The courthouse was packed with people. Reporters with cameras, families from the clinic, and medical professionals who had come to watch the case. Isabella's lawyers had told her that this hearing had become famous around the world. Isabella's heart sank when she saw her father sitting in the front row. Lord Blackwood had flown to Thailand to testify against Dr. Rivera. He looked angry and determined. Beside him sat Dr. Harrison, the London specialist who had told Isabella that Rose couldn't be saved. "Isabella," her father called out when he saw her, "it's not too late to end this madness. Come home with me today, and we can put this whole nightmare behind us." Isabella walked past him without stopping. She had made her choice weeks ago. The hearing began with the prosecution presenting their case. They called Dr. Rivera a dangerous fake who had put children's lives at risk. They showed his revoked medical license and talked about the child who had died under his care 3 years earlier. Isabella's father took the stand next. "My daughter was grieving and desperate," he said. "This man took advantage of her emotional state. He convinced her to spend her inheritance on fake treatments while my granddaughter suffered." Dr. Harrison testified that Dr. Rivera's treatment was unproven and dangerous. "What happened to baby Rose could have been achieved with proper medical care in London," he claimed. Isabella felt angry listening to these lies. Dr. Harrison had told her there was no hope for Rose. Now he was pretending he could have saved her all along. Then it was time for the defense. Isabella's lawyer called several families to testify about how Dr. Rivera had helped their children. Parents cried as they told stories of sick babies who had been saved by his treatments. Mrs. Chen, the woman Isabella had befriended at the clinic, testified about her son. "My boy was dying when we came here," she said through tears. "Dr. Rivera gave him back his life. He never asked for payment. He just wanted to help." When Isabella was called to testify, the courtroom became completely quiet. She walked to the witness stand carrying Rose, who looked healthy and happy.
"Ow. Tell us about your experience with Dr. Rivera," Isabella's lawyer said.
Isabella took a deep breath. 2 months ago, my daughter was dying. Every doctor in London had given up on her. Dr. Rivera was my last hope. She told the story of finding Dr. Rivera, of the desperate bargain she had made, and of the weeks they had spent fighting for Rose's life. As she spoke, she held Rose up so everyone could see how healthy she was. "Dr. Rivera didn't just save my daughter's life," Isabella said. "He taught me what it means to fight for someone you love. He showed me that healing isn't just about medicine. It's about caring for people when no one else will. The prosecutor stood up to question Isabella. Mrs. Blackwood, isn't it true that you were emotionally unstable when you met Dr. Rivera? Isn't it possible that your daughter would have recovered anyway? Isabella looked directly at her father as she answered. I was desperate, yes, but I wasn't unstable. I was a mother trying to save her child. Rose would not have recovered. She was dying, and everyone knew it except Dr. Rivera. But Dr. Rivera has no license, the prosecutor continued. How do you know his treatment was safe? Because I was there every day, Isabella said firmly. I learned to read her medical charts. I monitored her vital signs. I saw every injection, every test, every moment of her recovery. Dr. Rivera taught me everything so I could help save my own daughter. When Dr. Rivera took the stand, he spoke quietly but clearly. I know I broke the law by practicing without a license, he said. But I couldn't watch children die when I knew I might be able to help them. He explained his research and his treatment methods, talked about the years he had spent developing his techniques. He admitted that his methods were experimental, but insisted they were safe when used properly. I lost my license because I tried to save a child and failed, Dr. Rivera said. But I've saved dozens of children since then. Should I have let them die because I don't have a piece of paper on my wall? The prosecutor attacked Dr. Rivera hard. He put children at risk with unproven treatments. He gave false hope to desperate families. You charged enormous fees for experimental procedures. Dr. Rivera stayed calm. I never charged fees to families who couldn't pay. I used my own money to buy medicine for children whose parents had nothing. And yes, my treatments are experimental, but they work. Isabella watched the judges carefully during the testimony. She couldn't tell what they were thinking. The head judge was an older woman who listened carefully to every word. The other two judges took notes constantly. During a break, Isabella's father approached her one last time. Isabella, please, come home with me now. I'll drop all charges against Dr. Rivera if you just leave with Rose today. Isabella looked at her father sadly. You don't understand, do you? This isn't about choosing Dr. Rivera over family. This is about doing what's right. What's right is protecting your daughter and your future, her father said. I am protecting my daughter's future, Isabella replied. I'm fighting for a world where sick children can get help, even when traditional medicine fails them. When the hearing resumed, Isabella's lawyer made his closing argument. He showed pictures of all the children Dr. Rivera had helped. He presented evidence of Dr. Rivera's research and his success rate. He argued that Dr. Rivera should be given a new license, not sent to prison. The prosecutor argued that the law was the law. He said that allowing unlicensed doctors to practice would put all patients at risk. He asked the judges to make an example of Dr. Rivera. Then came the hardest part, waiting for the decision. Isabella sat in the hallway holding Rose, surrounded by families from the clinic. Everyone was quiet and nervous. Dr. Rivera sat beside them, looking calmer than Isabella felt. Ever happens, he said quietly. I'm glad we saved Rose. That makes everything worth it. Isabella realized that she had fallen in love with this man who had given everything to save her daughter. But she also realized that love wasn't just about feelings. It was about choosing to fight for someone, even when the whole world was against you. When the judges returned, the courtroom fell silent. Isabella held her breath as the head judge began to speak. This case has forced us to examine the balance between protecting patients and allowing innovation in medicine, the judge said. We have seen evidence of both the risks and benefits of Dr. Rivera's work. Isabella's heart pounded as she waited for the verdict that would change all their lives. The head judge looked around the packed courtroom before continuing. Isabella felt like her heart might stop beating as she waited for the words that would decide their future. After careful consideration of all evidence, the judge said, We find that while Dr. Rivera did practice without a license, his actions were motivated by a genuine desire to help patients who had been refused treatment elsewhere. Isabella held her breath. Rose babbled quietly in her arms, completely unaware of the tension in the room. However, the judge continued, we cannot ignore the fact that proper medical licensing exists to protect patients. Therefore, We sentenced Dr. Rivera to 2 years of supervised practice, during which he must work under the supervision of a licensed physician. Isabella felt confused. Was this good news or bad news? The judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, we ordered that Dr. Rivera be allowed to apply for a new medical license, provided he completes additional training in patient safety and medical ethics. The courtroom erupted in cheers. Isabella started crying tears of relief. Dr. Rivera wasn't going to prison. He would be able to continue helping sick children. But the judge held up her hand for silence. There is one more condition. Dr. Rivera must close his current clinic and work only in approved medical facilities. Isabella's joy turned to worry. The clinic in Thailand had been helping so many families who had nowhere else to go. What would happen to them? After the hearing, Isabella and Dr. Rivera walked outside together. The crowd of supporters followed them, celebrating the victory. But Isabella could see that Dr. Rivera looked sad despite the good news. "What's wrong?" Isabella asked. "You won? You can practice medicine again." Dr. Rivera looked back at the courthouse. "I'm grateful for the second chance," he said, "but closing the clinic means I can't help the families who need me most. They can't afford treatment at approved facilities." Isabella realized he was right. The victory felt incomplete. Dr. Rivera could save his career, but he might have to abandon the people who needed him most. That evening, Isabella sat in their small room at the clinic, thinking about everything that had happened. Rose was playing on the floor, healthy and happy. Dr. Rivera was packing his medical equipment, preparing to leave Thailand. "I have an idea," Isabella said suddenly. Dr. Rivera looked up from his packing. "What kind of idea? What if we opened a new clinic together? A proper one, with all the licenses and approvals, but one that still helps families who can't afford treatment anywhere else?" Dr. Rivera sat down across from her. "Isabella, that would cost millions of dollars. And it would take years to get all the approvals." Isabella smiled. "I still have some money left. And I have something more valuable than money now. I have a story that people care about." Over the next few weeks, Isabella worked harder than she ever had in her life. She used her remaining connections to meet with government officials, medical boards, and wealthy donors. She told Rose's story everywhere she went, explaining how Dr. Rivera's work could help thousands of children. The response was incredible. Donations poured in from around the world. Medical professionals volunteered their time. Government officials agreed to fast-track the licensing process for a new clinic. Isabella's family back in England was not pleased. Her father cut off all contact with her. Her mother sent angry letters demanding that she come home. Her former friends gossiped about how she had lost her mind over a foreign doctor, but Isabella didn't care anymore. She had found something more valuable than her family's approval. She had found her purpose. 6 months later, Isabella stood outside a beautiful new medical center in Bangkok. The sign read the Hope Foundation Children's Hospital. It was the first fully licensed clinic in Southeast Asia dedicated to treating rare childhood diseases. Dr. Rivera had been granted his new medical license and was now the head of research at the hospital. Isabella had used her organizational skills to become the hospital's director of patient services. Together, they had created something amazing. Rose, now 1 year old, was walking and talking. She played in the hospital's children's area every day, surrounded by other children who were getting the treatment they needed. She was living proof that love and determination could overcome any obstacle. On the day the hospital officially opened, Isabella received a surprise visitor. Her mother had flown to Thailand without telling anyone. "I came to see my granddaughter," Lady Blackwood said stiffly, "and to see what you've built here." Isabella gave her mother a tour of the hospital. She showed her the advanced medical equipment, the comfortable family rooms, and the happy children who were receiving treatment. She explained how they provided free care to families who couldn't afford it elsewhere. "This is impressive," her mother admitted. "But Isabella, what about your future? What about marriage and a proper life?" Isabella looked across the lobby, where Dr. Rivera was talking to a group of young doctors. "I have a proper life, Mother. I have work that matters, and I have people who care about me." Her mother followed her gaze. "You love him, don't you?" Isabella nodded. Yes, I do. Saved Rose's life, and then he saved mine too. That evening, Isabella's mother met Dr. Rivera properly for the first time. She saw how gently he examined Rose, how patiently he answered questions from worried parents, and how respectfully he treated Isabella as his equal partner. I can see why you chose him, her mother said quietly to Isabella. He's a good man. 2 months later, Isabella and Dr. Rivera were married in a simple ceremony at the hospital. Rose was their flower girl, walking unsteadily but proudly down the aisle. The wedding guests were the families they had helped, the medical staff who worked with them, and Isabella's mother, who had decided to support her daughter's choice. Isabella's father did not attend, but she had made peace with that. Some people couldn't change, and that was their loss. As Isabella and Dr. Rivera exchanged vows, she thought about the journey that had brought them together. She had started as a desperate mother willing to give anything to save her child, had ended up giving everything, her old life, her family's approval, her inherited wealth. But in losing everything, she had gained so much more. She had gained a purpose, a partnership, and a love that was deeper than anything she had ever imagined. I promised to give you my body, my title, and my heart if you saved my baby, Isabella whispered to Dr. Rivera as they danced at their wedding reception. Dr. Rivera smiled and pulled her closer. You gave me something even more valuable, he said. You gave me a reason to believe in love again. Ada Rose laughed and clapped from her high chair nearby, surrounded by all the people who had become their chosen family.
I can enter healthy.
Happy daughter. Isabella knew that every sacrifice had been worth it. The little girl who had once been dying was now thriving, and the woman who had once been lost had found her way home. Not to a place, but to a purpose and a love that would last forever. Years later, when people asked Isabella about her incredible story, she would always say the same thing. I thought I was saving my baby, but really, saving her saved me too. Love doesn't just heal the people we care about, it heals us as well. The Hope Foundation Children's Hospital continued to grow, helping thousands of children from around the world. Isabella and Dr. Rivera worked side by side every day, their love story inspiring everyone who met them. And Rose grew up, knowing that she was loved so deeply that her mother had changed the world just to save her life. That kind of love, Isabella knew, was the most powerful medicine of all.